In Gran Turismo's latest update, we got some new engine swaps, but when it comes to earning credits in Gran Turismo, I'll show you why you should consider spending your credits in a different way. Now, as I said in the intro, in update 1.43 we got some new engine swaps, and one of those was for this particular car, the Toyota Corolla GR Maurizio edition. So, let's go ahead and buy one, and 71,500, not bad, and then we'll jump over to GT Auto and we'll have a look at the available engine swap. And there you have it. Now, at 210,000 credits, that's certainly not one of the most expensive engine swaps in Gran Turismo. But is it worth it? Now, whoa, before you press that purchase button, let me just point out a couple of things here. One, if you look at that engine swap, you are only getting 26 brake horsepower more than the standard engine. 26. It's hardly worth it. But even worse than that, look at the weight. You are gaining more than 100 kilos of additional weight by that engine swap. But hang on, let's go about this a different way. We'll take the same car, but now we'll go to the tuning shop and we'll buy a few things. Well, in fact, we'll buy a lot of things. Engine control system, turbochargers, manifolds, exhausts, air filters, suspension. In fact, we're going to buy just about everything that upgrades this car. Don't worry if you missed any of the parts I bought. I'll pop up a picture in a moment so you can see all the parts listed and have a look at the tune I put on this car. Now, if we go back to having a quick look at the engine swap, you can see that that was going to cost us 210,000 credits. It was only, however, going to give us an increase of 26 additional horsepower. And as well as that, we were going to add over 100, in fact 115 kilos in weight to the vehicle. Not really what I'd call a fantastic increase. But when you look at the other way we did it, when we tuned the whole car, we improved not only the horsepower, not only the weight, but the suspension, the electronics, the car's balance. In fact, everything about the car improved when we tuned it. And even more surprisingly, it cost less. Yes, less. The original engine upgrade or engine swap was 210,000. I managed to purchase everything that we got from the tuning shop and the additional aero package from the customs, and that cost us just over 106,000 credits. Near enough half of what the engine swap costs. In fact, I could have bought the car and done all of the tuning and added the aero package and even gone and bought myself a nice livery for it, and it would have still cost less than just the engine upgrade on its own. And now that I've showed you how to make better improvements to the car for less than the cost of an engine swap, let's put that into practice, shall we? So, we'll head over to World Circuits, Circuit de la Sarthe and the World Touring Car 700. Now, the first thing you're going to want to do when you start the race is set your fuel map to level 4. This will give us a decent amount of speed and, weather permitting, will allow us to do a 2-stop strategy, stopping on lap 2 and again on lap 4. Now, I will just point out that the Corolla is not the fastest car you will ever do this race in. I mean, it's no LM55 or Jag XJ220, but don't get me wrong, it's no slouch. It's still quick, and it will overtake all the other cars. Just give it a little bit of time. And, like I said, it's no slouch. In fact, by the time you finish your first lap, you should be somewhere around about the top 3 or 4 positions and hunting down the leaders. And by the time you get to about halfway, just over halfway through the second lap, you will be in my elusive first place. And now we've got first place, it's time to think about our first pit stop. Now, just make sure to keep an eye on the sky and your weather radar, because obviously each race is different. For my race, this was a no-brainer. It had already started raining, so it was on with the wet weather tyres, specifically intermediates, which work very well with this particular car. But again, depending on what your weather radar looks like, you may want to go for wets. But either way, come in, change the tyres, fill up the tank with fuel, and then we're back off into the race. Now, don't worry about your race position when you come out of the pits, because yes, you will have dropped a few places. However, we've already made our first pit stop, the other drivers haven't, and more importantly, we're on the correct tyre for these conditions, and that is going to give us a big advantage. You see, being on those correct tyres not only allowed us to make up quite a few places quite quickly, but because we'd already made our pit stop, when it comes to starting lap 4 and everybody else is making theirs, we just stroll right into the lead of the race. Now, just as we skip ahead to the end of lap 4, I want to take a moment to point out the importance of the weather radar, because as you can see by these clips, there's no rain, the sun's out. However, I, as you should do, managed to keep an eye on my weather radar, and that said rain was coming. And even though it doesn't look like it at the moment, wait till you see what the weather's like when we come out of the pit stop. And because the weather radar had said there was rain coming, I decided to put on intermediates again, and of course filled up with fuel, and then back out onto the track. And yeah, it was raining. Even though it hadn't looked like it before the pit stop, it was definitely raining now. And by the time we'd probably completed less than a quarter of a lap, it was really raining heavily. In fact, so heavy that the Toyota was doing exceptionally well, which is more than can be said for the AI. And even the guy that had moved into the lead while we were taking our pit stop didn't keep it on the track, and that allowed us to just slip back into first place. Now, at this point, we're on the wet tyres, we've got the lead, and all of the other cars have got to make at least one more pit stop. So, we're going to jump ahead to the end of lap 6, because we are pretty much unstoppable at this point. And now that we're coming towards the end of lap 6, and we are, well, quite frankly, so far ahead it's almost embarrassing, there's only one thing you need to do. Nothing. Well, not exactly nothing. You see, don't cross the line and start your 7th lap. You don't need to. As you can see, I had about a minute and a half left on the clock. So, sit and wait and just let the timer count down. What's the point in doing an extra lap that is going to take you anywhere between 4.5 and 5 minutes when you can just sit here for 90 seconds and then finish the race? So, just chill out, and you will still cross that finish line in first place. And frankly, it doesn't get much easier than that. A nice first place finish, nearly 2 minutes ahead of the opposition, and 825,000 credits in my account. Not bad for 30 minutes work. Now, just a couple of things we should look at as we get towards the end of the video. First of all, is the Corolla Mezzo Edition any good as a credit car? Well, yeah, it's a very good car, and I recommend you try it. And the other thing is engine swaps. Just work out what you're going to get first. Just because there's an engine swap available for a car doesn't necessarily mean it's worth getting. Don't get me wrong though, I'm not saying all engine swaps are bad. Some are definitely worth getting. I'm just suggesting maybe get the calculator out first and work out whether you think it's worth the extra spend. And saying that, I will see you guys in the next video. For more great videos like this one, follow this link. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.